Right now.
I didn't say that, but you have to have a.
We will go ahead and call this meeting to order. It is 3:14.
That's what I need to say.
If everybody will, please go ahead and silence your mobile devices. All right. Alan, would you lead us in our invocation today?
I'm glad to. Dear Lord, thank you so very much for all you do for us, and Lord, for your guidance and your direction. Lord, I just pray that you would help us to, Lord, look at our job as something that we're doing for our citizens and for those, Lord, that may be in need and that may depend on what we do. Lord, I pray we do things pleasing in your sight. And Lord, just guide our words, and Lord, give us sharp thoughts and help us to do this in a manner that, Lord, would be fiscally correct, and Lord, that would be open and transparent. Lord, I pray that you just be with each individual's needs here, Lord. And I thank you for it in Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Commissioner Harding, will you lead us in our pledge?
Attention, salute, pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Everyone should be well aware of our ethics and awareness conflict of interest reminder. Do we have any conflict of interest today that the board needs to be made aware of?
Go continue to disclose that, some Fisher Roberts are school employees, and there is a school element in the budget. Just note that,
Thank you.
full transparency.
Do we have any additions or changes to the agenda today?
Madam Chairwoman, I move that we add a closed session to the agenda after items for discussion to discuss personnel under General Statute 143-1811A, Section 6.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor, vote by usual sign. Motion carries. All right. Do we have a motion to adopt the agenda today?
Second.
Thank you, Brandon. Thank you, Clayton. All in favor, vote by usual sign. Motion carries. All right, we're skipping right along to item number 8, which is our budget workshop. And who wants to start out, Alan or Mavis?
It's me and Mavis tag team, but how about that?
Let me
Mavis?
just start out by saying, from our last meeting, based on, the comments and the request of that meeting, I made 2 changes only to the budget, that you have before you. Number 1, I did add the 2% COLA for all employees. In other words, we're going to adjust the, pay plan by 2% for the CPI this year. And number 2, we changed the Board of Education funding to increase the current operating budget from 2.172 million up to 2.250 million. And I think that was the only 2 changes that everyone requested. So what that means in a nutshell is all other agencies are getting exactly what they requested. And as far as funding, so Toe River Health, the libraries, the animal shelter, Malin, all of that remained the same, and we're granting those requests, which if you'll recall, pretty much all came in the 2 and a little bit % increase. They were very reasonable, made no changes in capital. Or the other thing that what that did, and I just realized I didn't change that, is the contingency did come back down to $20,000. What I did was I used that little bit of extra in contingency to help offset that 2% cost of living. Anybody have any questions about the changes that I made?
not specifically about the changes, Mavis, but, I was, reading your, introduction statement here. It says a 2.1 decrease over.
Well, and that probably needs to be adjusted too. I don't know if I actually,
Was a lot of that money, was our budget last year, a lot of it due to like pass-through money for projects?
it
that
was
were-
pass-through money, grants, pass-through money, ARPA money, a lot of capital, if you'll recall, was in last year's budget, and we pulled most of that out for the next year's budget. So it's really, in my opinion, the budget's staying pretty status
balanced.
quo. Yeah, we're at 25 million, give or take, and that's what we are this year, and that's what we're gonna be next year.
So I guess what I was going with that is in the future, at some point, we should see our budget continue to, after these build projects are done, all this pass-through money's gone, it should.
It's gonna come back down, probably in your 25, 26. You're gonna probably see a, somewhere close to at least a 500,000 will come off, pretty
Gotcha.
much. We're gonna be closing out a lot of that's gonna be ending. Because all of that money, for the most part, has to be spent by the end of, this year, December 31st of 24.
I guess, sometimes as a taxpayer, you might see this and be concerned that, the budget's grown over the past couple of years, but it's not really. A lot of that is
Right,
money coming through the legislature, ARPA money or so
Right.
forth, so it's not really growing substantially.
it's not growing. Your operating costs have not really changed. It's the special projects and
Yeah.
capital and grants.
All right, anybody got any questions before we start discussing more? About any specific areas? Do you want to start kind of jumping into some of these and just kind of finalizing? What the consensus, we're hoping that you all, have a full picture of what this budget looks like. And then we're hoping that maybe y'all can kind of give us some yay and nays on most everything we can, so we can get our budget message out and finalize our budget due to the general statutory requirements. So hoping today we can maybe get this thing lassoed in.
What'd you say contingency was on this?
20,000, it's gonna be 20. I just realized that. I should have changed that. I should have redlined that one for you. I don't know if you need to go over each one of these items on by item. I think I would just, if you all have some concerns since we met last time till now, any questions, concerns, want to make any changes, now's the time to do it, because like Alan said, tomorrow, he's gonna have to write the budget message. We've got to get that done this week, and the budget message and the budget will formally be presented to the board next Tuesday night at your meeting. The advertisement is going out into the paper to notify everyone of the annual public hearing that is required for the budget, and that will be at your June 3rd meeting. So that will be the time for public to make any comments about the budget. And we do have to get that in the paper 2 weeks prior to that meeting, so that will actually go out later this week. But by statute, Alan needs to present formally to the board prior to the end of May, and it has to be on public display for the public. So after today, we will publish this for the public to view and send the ad to the paper and do all the check boxes to meet the requirements. So that's the procedure.
2 questions.
Okay,
Board of Education,
okay.
how much did we increase their current operating budget from last year to this year?
The 77,000, let me give you the exact number. Hold on just a second. 77 and some change.
And while you're looking at that, Mavis or Christie, in this current, what's presented before us, that does have us increasing the is that what it's called, low well?
So
It was $77,378. And I think their low wealth request was a minimum this year
23.
of 23, which we're going to need to do a budget amendment and add that 23 prior to June 30 for the year we're in now. Okay, because that's a rolling 4 or 5 year thing. And then starting next year, they will have the extra 77,378, which we hope will take the 23 and then whatever they're showing we're a deficit for next year, we're hoping that would cover us for the next several years.
Let me get this straight. So we're gonna give the 23 to help that metric for the low wealth, low county. And we want to do that this year because they need proof and I'll get them a letterhead and a note that's
The way
been
I read
done.
it, that's what we're required to do.
Yes. And then on top of that, are we adding the 77,000?
Right, we're just adding a total of 77, which will include the 23 plus a little bit more. But we'll need to give them the 23 this year, which I think we actually have some funds we can do that from.
Okay,
And then next year they'll start getting the 2.2 million.
okay. That's,
And if you remember, we've not increased this operating pot of money since what, 2015, I think we looked.
We just increased the special.
We've done a lot of special
Yeah.
appropriations, which is
Offset it.
and so, yeah,
kind
so,
of get you into trouble because they don't count special
Right.
appropriation when they're doing that rolling average per FTE admin money for each
But
child.
they need that recurring
They want recurring.
model because they don't know something will get funded the years. So the only way they can run a metric off is if it's recurring.
Okay.
And that low wealth bonus, so the recurring initiates more money into the school on. And the DPI had this spreadsheet and I sent it to you and you can start manipulating that, and kind of playing with it to see where that metric kind of helps. Get them more money outside of what we get from the state. So that's a neat
Saying
setup.
that, we could have, when we did one-on-one technology, agreed to do that again. We could have put that instead of designating it for one-on-one technology. We could have given that as current operational. And then they would have had to have chosen to use that
Right,
as
Mhm.
one-on-one
You could have.
technology, correct?
Yeah,
Correct.
but we're locked into the one-on-one contract for what, 3 more years?
till 2026 and in 2026, you know, whatever board is sitting here, whatever finance people are sitting here, can't even understand. In my opinion, and I'm, you know, it's my opinion, but there are other ways to fund that. I mean, that could be funded from your capital sales tax money and not necessarily from your general tax funds. So in 2026, whoever is looking at that, I would look at options, like you said, look at other options to do that.
And a point to be made, and I've met with Chad and Beth earlier today, is when they get these new schools built, their capital needs are gonna decrease. When you get an old school and it's eating up your capital on repairs and HVAC and you know, just the depreciation factors, they expect to build a lot more capital. That capital sales tax is gonna be not used as much and they could start sitting on a pretty decent
You
pile.
know, and they're also.
And they could pull all of
getting
their
that
technology out of
R&R, the R&R money they're getting too now that
Mhm.
is new funding as of 2 or 3 years ago, that $500,000 a year. That has to be spent on capital. And then they have a lot of sales tax, or not sales tax, they have sales tax capital. They also have lottery funds that are restricted to certain expenditures, and a lot of that is capital too. So I think going forward, there's gonna be other options for one-to-one technology, and then maybe hold your general fund taxes for their operation money versus using that, because if you weren't tying up that 272 out of your
Yeah,
property tax money, your general tax money, that would free up more money to give them operational.
And then you throw in the sale of the 2 schools.
That's gonna
That
have to
goes
be
to
capital,
capital.
so they should be well funded for capital for several years,
mhm.
many years.
Okay, and the second question I had, Article 44 sales tax, how much did that increase this year from last year?
About 35,000 went from. Part of that was a carryover from something else that ended up getting any funded, about 40,000. Somewhere close to 40.
Okay. So far this year, that's, about $117,000 extra money from this year from last year. 77, 378, and then you added 40,000 to that. Am I understanding that correctly?
I don't know,
I
you
don't
lost
think
me.
so. I think I don't think that's right.
Okay, the current operation budget is $77,378 higher this year than it was last year.
It's gonna be in this
Yeah, the
upcoming
Article
budget.
40, in this coming.
Article 44
Is
is
that
going from
40,000?
like 157 to 195 to the
So
school.
if you add those two numbers together, the
Right.
total increase in funding is $117,378.
But remember last year or the year we're in
Use
right
anywhere.
now, we had a special appropriation to them too, that's not in there. That was what, 180,000 something. Let's look right here a second. You know what I'm saying? We give another piece of money on top of that, which was special appropriation, which is not in the budget for 25, 20, or 24, 25. Special appropriation was $198,000.
And what was that for? Do you remember?
It was what they needed it for.
Do
We
whatever.
didn't
Remember they,
specify
Yeah, we
what
gave
spend
it,
on.
use where most needed, because they had several things on there,
like they do this year.
and we wanted them to say, you all know more about that than us, you use where most needed.
So we didn't specify what they could spend the Article 44 on or the special appropriation. We gave it to them and
And it
said,
also, rather than give them interest, we rolled in what we projected interest from some of their
we
stuff.
don't,
into
you
that.
know, the interest doesn't come in.
Yeah, but they were asking for interest, and I said, well, this would be in that use anywhere fund that was, if they were, because rather than, we can't quantify that out of our accounts, it's that easy, it's all rolled in.
So has there been any decision made on how the road widening projects would be funded?
Yes, so I met with school today and with Vinoy representative. And what we did there was, we're looking like that their GMP will be coming in about 3 million under budget. So what we need in order to properly audit, pull that into the grant, because we got funds allocated right now for that build, and we're finding out that build's 3 million under. So they're gonna do a change order for -3 million. That will make our bill go from about 10,700,000 to about 7.7 million.
It's
And
left to pay.
that's left to pay, which in essence, once we do that, they'll give us a letterhead that basically says that our budget's coming in 3 million below the projected GMP to that effect. And for the sake of the live stream, I might be butchering this and getting it completely wrong, but the gist of it is that they're gonna show us proof that they're coming in 3 million under. And then that 3 million is what we've been holding sales tax. So they're gonna use up all the grant money that was allocated for that school. And what we were holding as part of the payment was capital sales tax. And that frees their sales tax up now for other parts of their project. So for example, they were looking at changing their scope of work on the athletic complex because they didn't have enough money to cover a road. Well, that road's gonna cost $750,000. So that's a part of what that sales tax could go, because
The
that's.
road to the athletic facility,
Yeah.
750, or the road wide?
That will be 750,000 for that road as well as the other, so they're
Okay.
two the same. Good question, because they're easy to blur. So then we're gonna also ask for the 750,000 for the road widening out of that 3 million. They got about 1.3 million that they'd like to use for furniture out of their capital sales tax. And we do need to know the final architect price on this job. That's one thing that's kind of holding everything up. But I advise the school to quantify all their needs.
So does the road does qualify as a capital need?
Yep, and one of those road projects, the 226 one for the middle school, is gonna be reimbursed via DOT, and that will get to go to their general fund when they get that check for $750,000. So, in about, they're seeming to think, and this is a guess, that that road will get finished. And when it zeroes that road out and closes it, then that completes their packet to send for reimbursement to DOT. And they'll get $750,000 check around the month of August or September.
So that goes into general fund, you said?
Yep, so the need, and this is the discussion, and I want to put this out here just to kind of be clear with it. You know, the need was approximately in the budget ask this year, approximately $930,000. So having $750,000 go into your general fund decreases the need by $750,000. So the budget that Mavis has put forth, and we've all discussed, still overfunds the need of it's gonna be over 930,000 when you do the recurring funds, the Article 44 and the one-to-one technology. So, you know, the one-to-one technology is one that's gonna be there for a few years. But even if you took the Article 44 and the operational increase, I still think with the 750,000 and adding that to it, you're still meeting right at the need, right at the 930 point. So
basically, they could take that 750. They could take 150 off of that to run their pre-K program.
Do whatever they want to with it.
Yeah, but all these asks that we, you know, from fuel for the buses to books to STEM for the lower grade level, you know, all the requests that they've had here. The extra nurses, even though the state does pay for 3, they would have enough money to run everything that they've asked us for. Is my mind
well, that's kind of,
processing that correctly with the amount of money they've asked for?
that's what, that my mind is on the same process as yours, and that's kind of what I expressed a little bit when talking, you know, is that the 750,000 is there to cover your needs when it goes into your general fund. You know, so that was what I'd communicated. So I would say that will be close to what we was all thinking. We're meeting your need. Now the counterpoint to that is saying, well, the capital sales tax was the money the county's holding it, but it's the school's money anyway. But the school's money is now able to be repurposed to go into expanded use. It was focused into only capital needs and only a set type of needs. But when that check comes back for 750,000, it gets to go into their general fund and be used for any need, which would be on that list that they had in their budget letter that they were asking for. So that is my understanding. Mavis, you right there with that? You thinking too?
That's my understanding. The only thing I would probably say to, you know, I mean, that's what Beth indicated. I don't know if she's checked with her, auditor or anything, but it's to my understanding, they indicated to me that it would not have restrictions when it gets reimbursed.
And I was party to hearing that too.
Yeah.
I'd heard that. So
So. I'm
we haven't
thinking
done
that-
our homework. Yeah, that's just taken, you know, and we feel like that DOT would, when they do a reimbursement coming from them, that would make it work, would be that way, but I think their attorney might have been in the room when they said
I
that.
think
to
both
them.
attorneys
Yeah.
were here when they said
So I think
that.
that was kind of holding.
I'm just taking what they said.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which makes sense.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Well, you know, sitting over here, of course, you want to meet their need, but you can't meet every need that they ask for.
And it's hard
And
for
shut-
you
and
to
shut-
pick and choose that too.
And,
you
and,
know?
and shouldn't meet every need they're asking for, you know, they're asking this board and the taxpayers to make tough decisions. But they're gonna have to make the tough decisions now and say, okay, if we really want to fund pre-K, we've got the money to do it. So let's fund it. We have some extra money for an additional counselor, so, okay, we have a need over here. so let's fund this counseling position. So I just wanted to make sure that I understood that right. So thanks for the clarification as you understood it.
That's as we understand
Okay.
that. I mean, if this board wanted to take any one part of the funding and say, you know, like if you want to say Article 44, the commission board prefers it be used towards pre-K. I think this board could do so. They could say in their letter that the board preferred it go to that. But if we got a careful slope when you start referring things, because then you get tagged to it. And you might want to just say, we want the school, they know what's most needed and they put it where's most needed, but we prefer, we want to see pre-K funded. I think I've heard that throughout this board. And
You know,
that burden
pre-K,
on-
I think pre-K is very important, and I think it's ridiculous that the state of North Carolina doesn't fund it. They flow it through Department of Health and Human Services, but they have all these restrictions.
I think you'll see that come up in the legislature,
I think
probably not
that's
this
gonna
year because
change.
of the short session, but it is on their list. But I think it probably won't go anywhere till next year, but I think, Jeff, you will, that's just my feeling about it. I think you will see that in the future in the legislature.
So there was a request for recurring pre-K funds and my discussion when I was meeting with the school is that, you know, we want to see where it goes with the state, you know, it would be more wise for the school to fund that or for funds to be allocated from the school that we're sending their way or how it's freed up till we see what happens with that, you know.
I'm good. I don't have any more questions.
So you feel good with the budget the way
I'm
it is?
fine with it, just like presented.
Clayton, got any questions?
I don't think so.
I'm happy we was able to get our employees a COLA. That helps. They're making tough decisions about their budgets too. And they do good work.
So. The 750,000. Plus the 117,378. That would technically be the total amount of increase that, or the amount that the school's getting, correct?
You're talking about the 77,378 on operation.
Plus the 40, which would be 117,378. Plus the 750.
No, you're losing me on the 40.
40 is Article
40
increased-
was Article
44,
increase.
exactly.
Yeah, that was the increase from Article 44. They come out to 117,378. So that added to the 750 gives them 867,378.
And I think they asked for 969, if I remember correctly, something like that.
I had down 970.
So they're close.
It's about
Yeah,
$100,000 difference.
yeah, they're close. And this year, in the next budget amendment, we're gonna give them an additional 23, whatever, towards operating this year too, so that's gonna help them. And in reality too, if we free up that capital sales tax and they are able to, 3 million, they are able to do furniture and stuff, then that's gonna save them from spending other money they had for furniture, which I think they were trying to figure out which pot of money they could pull for that. So, I mean, that's gonna free up more money for them too, if we're able to do that from their capital sales tax. That'll be good.
So I'm doing some math here.
So the biggest question in the room today is, after we've had this discussion, is nobody still knows how much the architectural fee is going to be.
Not the jump in front of your question, but kind of alongside that, where did we save 3 million at on that bill? Was it the soil?
Yes, unsuitable souls is bringing back, contingencies bringing back, and then there was a summation of little bitty ones that that made that three. So unsuitable schools was probably around 2.1 million, if I'm remembering right from the Illinois sheets.
So we have no idea what the architectural fees are gonna be, like.
We know, I don't think by the schedule they should not exceed, what, 408 or something?
400 and some thousand.
So we're thinking right around,
492 is
So-
what their invoice indicates that I
Yeah.
just checked.
so we look
Yeah.
at the percentage on the invoices and,
But we're hearing different from other meetings. We've heard maybe 181,000, and then last budget meeting, I think they indicated 76,000. So I don't know, 181,000, and then it went to 76,000. So until I get something, and I think personally what COPE has done is somewhere along the line, they've added for these other projects in on that invoice, and then where they've separated those other projects like the athletic facility out of that, they've not minused it from that original invoice.
okay.
But like you said, Jeff, until we see the contract, until we don't know. The same thing happened with Van Noy, that last invoice, which started us all looking at that. Invoice 16, they had added the athletic facility to that, and we had to get it taken back off, and I'm wondering if COPE doesn't need to do the same thing with theirs.
So,
However, I have been billed for the new athletic facility from COPE, because I just paid them $211,000.
So that makes it small.
So I do have another billing. I'm just wondering if they've not minused it off of that, but I don't know. That's just a guess.
so I was wanting to double check numbers with you because when I was hearing those and knowing their need. So if I get this correct, we're given 195,563 in Article 44.
So, hang on, I'm just trying to wrap my head around all these, it's big numbers. So if I don't wanna deplete all of their sales tax, because then, didn't they say in that meeting that they need to be some of it to get good ready for pre-K? Will they
Yeah.
have money to do that?
So we're not gonna deplete all 3 million.
Okay,
We will probably we'll probably have about 1 million left over, or a little under 1 million left over if we do everything they want. Isn't that what we calculated yesterday?
Yes, but also Carly, they still have money in their R&R fund, which is all capital.
Yeah,
They have money there, plus they're gonna get another 500,000 in July. I think they have really good pots of money, plus they still have about 300 some left in their special lottery fund. And then you have your regular lottery fund, which will drop about 120 to 130 in July. So there are lots of areas to find capital to redo Gooch if they need to,
okay.
but, let me look at
so
something.
we're looking about 2.8 million of the 3 million could get obligated out, but the timing of the obligations too are factors. Some of them won't be due till later in the game, and some will be earlier. Like furniture ain't gonna be due till September from what I'm hearing. So, that means more money's dropping the whole time, every month, a little bit of special lottery or special
Well,
capital.
but that second.
Capital
one
sales
is gonna
tax,
be
whatever.
Next year, yeah.
But
And then too, you've got to realize too, we're talking about their sales tax capital money that's set that we have. But they're gonna have money next year too. So, for example, the athletic facility project, the 14.5, had a road in there and they had budgeted 700,000. And this is close. It was
Mhm.
7 and something. Okay, they were gonna nix that project because they didn't have enough money. When they looked at the cost of the road, it's gonna be more than that.
5 million grants.
So they're saying they would pull maybe another 700,000 out of their capital sales tax, so they could do the road. But that's probably not gonna happen till later in the fall, you know what I'm saying? So they'll have sales tax coming in for next budget year too, capital sales tax. So it's not like you have to fund both of those roads right now.
Mhm.
So if you fund, if we can release 3 million, we fund 750 for the road widening, 1.3
For furniture.
for furniture, then you're still gonna have let me tell you exactly. And again, these are round numbers, but you still got 950,000 left. So they should be able to have plenty to do the other road.
And then there was something else, their HVAC for the high school, is that what it was?
Yeah.
Yeah, they were talking about that. And so another thing on that. And we were talking a little bit about that, is the capital needs could fully be met if, let's say, they had, I think that chart had a little over 1 million, maybe let's say 1 point something million. If they sell these 2 schools, they can run straight into those type of needs. That's
Right.
the sale proceeds for that has to go to capital.
Capital.
So that's another balance of
Yeah.
capital that they're gonna get. But getting back to the need of 970 versus what we're given, I did the math on here and I'm getting a little different. 195,563 for Article 44 plus 77,378 by the increase of the operating budget we're given this year. That comes to 272,941, doesn't it?
Well, if you take what I think they're asking, 960,90 minus the,
And then I'm adding 750,000 to that to say that.
Are you counting
So
five?
I've got 1,022,000 is what this total budget will encompass.
Are you counting fines and forfeitures and,
no,
No, those are all in addition to
so if
that.
you add that, it's more.
yeah,
So this ain't even including the one-to-one technology, because I see that as kind of obligated.
it is obligated.
So, they can't use that except on technology, but taking one-to-one technology out, they asked for 970,000. This funds them by, knowing the need of 750,000 is covered by that reimbursement, 1,022,000.
I took the increased amount, that's what I added.
Okay, you're doing the
Instead of
deltas.
Total
Yeah.
amount of Article 44, I just took the increased
Okay.
amount.
Yeah, I
For
see what
each
you're
one of
saying now.
those.
Yeah,
That's
okay.
how I come up with that.
Okay, well, I just wanted it to be known on the live stream that they would be getting a total above non-obligated, taking out one-to-one technology, it'd be $1,022,941.
And they may come in July and ask us for their part. The one-to-one technology, we're paying 272,000 a year on that payment, and they're paying $206,000 on that payment. In the past, they've come to us in July when that payment comes due and ask us for their part from the sales tax capital. So even, we've got to make sure that we'll hold a couple hundred thousand in there. Because the problem with technology is you just can't pay for technology out of those capital. Most of those capital lottery funds restrict you from paying technology out of that because they want them to go to the E-rate funds or some other avenues for technology versus capital. They look at that more as building than technology. So in the past they have, so I haven't talked to Beth about that.
The technology will not be any kind of request from what I heard today
So they're not gonna ask for that payment.
on the E-rate, not the one-to-one, I'm talking about the middle school technology.
Right, I know, but they have to make that
One-to-one.
payment in July.
I think they said they could have that. They felt like they had enough.
They had enough to do
But
that.
now we'll see, because they are running
Right.
tight right now on the projects.
So. It might be worth some money.
So y'all feel good about that? But.
I think. Okay.
Hearts and minds clear, no.
When we get through with budget, can we talk, just briefly bring them up to date on the truck issue? And Steve's not here, but he asked about the can crusher. And
I know
are we good with questions on the budget? So can we, okay, let's talk about this year's budget for just a hot second then. I think Alan sent you an email about replacing the truck that was burnt for sanitation. Is everybody okay with that? Okay, and I've not been able to get a quote. They're working on some ideas and some costs on the can crusher that he asked about. The last quote, I did pull it out. We quoted it right after the Alta Pass fire. The quote I had then was 32,000. I'm waiting. The guy emailed me again today and says he's working me something up. He's looking to see what's in inventory, what's gonna fit our needs. I don't have that one yet, but I'll let you know when I get it. So, was there anything else, Alan, that for this year? So we'll move forward with the truck because I can get that one took care of. Let's see what else is on the list.
There's something on there lingering. I'm trying to remember it and recall
The can crusher.
The can crusher I don't have
it.
yet.
Still trying to rope that one in,
Yeah,
little tighter on budget.
I think we're good.
We're good.
I think we're good. So we will, what I'll probably do is once the school gets us the information, if we're gonna be able to do a budget amendment on that middle school ordinance that I can release 3 million of that capital, then we'll do a budget amendment and get that done. And then, of course, we'll do the final one at the end of June, but I think we can get everything wrapped up.
And and this might be just for Mavis, but I told the school to quantify all their things in one letter that said, you know, if it's just a big amount of it, you just put them all in there and then we'll just advance that sales tax and let them work with it. That way they're a little easier.
And
to
I'd
roll.
like to go ahead and do that before year end to get it off of our liability on our books. I just soon
Mhm.
advance it to them and, let them spend it.
Yeah.
And clean us up a little bit.
And that'll help them move their projects a little easier too.
Anything else?
Right off the top of my head, I thought there was one more thing, but I can't think of what it is. I thought about it after I left this meeting, but
You know, you're like, crap, why didn't I bring that up?
Jeff, particularly committee, we are desperately trying to close out some grants, desperately. And one of them is the CDBG, Jeff. And you know, we chose 2 more applicants.
How's that going?
It is like pulling teeth. I just got an email before I came in here. I think we finally have environmental finish. It's like 230 pages. She's gonna ship it. Raleigh is telling me that they hope to have our request for an amendment on that grant approved by tomorrow. It's been down there since March. So hopefully, I really wanted to get that cleaned out quickly because those 2 homeowners are desperately,
Do we have to have another meeting or is this what you have?
no, this is just trying to do what we met
Finish it.
about and what we approved. It's just getting the paperwork done. So we are, that one's, if you hear anything, because I know people think it should have went a lot quicker, but we're just struggling to get everything done. It's always hurry up and wait.
Well, it's not been on your end though.
No,
It's been on the other end.
it's Raleigh. I don't know why they're behind. And environmental, you have to give people 30 days to do if they have any environmental claims against the property. And we're all just sitting and waiting to get it done. But once we get all Harley signed some papers yesterday on one of the environmentals on one of the mobile homes, and then we're gonna get another one once it gets signed off on. Once we get it done, I think it'll go fast. It's just getting all the paperwork approved.
What's the timetable on that?
On what?
Making sure the money's gone. We
I
spend,
have to have it spent by the middle of August, someday in August of this year. So I gotta move quick once we,
even though the product may not be delivered and set, it's been purchased so we can.
we'll have to have all the checks wrote by sometime in the middle of August.
Okay,
Yeah, I know, we're down to the wire. And see, that's what happened on the last grant. It was during COVID. We ended up having a little bit of money left. And we didn't have time, but this time I thought we had enough time to get, so we ended up not spending it all last time. We ended up with about 130,000 that we ended up not being able to utilize because it wasn't enough and we didn't have time. So, you know, we met back in January, February, and I thought we had plenty of time to get this done, but unfortunately, the wheels have been moving really slow. But we're gonna get it done. That's a tough one. We have some other grants that, we've got to get finished before the end of June, which is gonna be tough.
We're getting ready to obligate her on the rest of that skip grant by signing the contract in the next couple of days for the.
That contract, yeah, the recreation one has a deadline of sometime in June. So we have to have that committed by sometime in June. We have to be under contract.
Ball field looks good.
It's getting there, and
Looks good.
it's been a lot of rain here lately.
Yeah, tell me about it.
You guys have any more questions for me, Mr. Allen, about the budget? Thanks. Do you need anything else from this board?
I think that's it. If I've got more, we'll talk about it Tuesday night.
If there is nothing else for the budget workshop, we'll move on to item 9, and that is gonna be our closed session. And for that closed session, will ask, Alan to stay in here and then the board. And I think that's good, I know. We take some notes.
Yeah.
Make a motion.
Yeah, I mean, motion, yes.
Thank you, guys.
So moved.
Thank you, Brandon.
In a second.
It turned out.
Well, what did you guys second that? Jeffrey Clayton, did one of you second that?
Second.
I'll raise my hand.
Okay.
I have no idea.
All in favor? I'm assuming Linda's not here right now.